If you love wisdom, put your mind up to the ceiling. Don't let it stay in the gutter. Don't let your heart get all cluttered. No, I did not stutter. Listen to all that I've muttered. Your life will only go well if you win wisdom or lovers.
If you're in love with wisdom, come inside.
Come inside. Come inside.
The truth will surely rescue you and I.
You and I. You and I.
If you're in love with wisdom, come inside.
Come inside. Come inside.
The truth will surely rescue you and I.
All right, what's going on? And welcome back. You were listening to For the Love of Wisdom, where philosophy meets the streets. And this is hour 2. So on hour 1, we started the conversation on the wisdom of opportunity. And we're actually going to finish up with that on hour number 2, same topic. So if you missed it, you can always listen back on iTunes, TuneIn Radio, iHeart, Spotify, anywhere like that. But more on that after this.
If you're in love with wisdom, come inside.
Come inside.
Hey, what's going on, Wisdom family? Each week on For the Love of Wisdom, we promote a new and free audiobook that we believe you will benefit from and become wiser by listening to. On today's show, we're talking about the wisdom of opportunity. And so, the recommended book for this week is Life's Challenges, Your Opportunities by John Hagee. This book is all about taking advantage of opportunities that come to you while keeping God at the forefront. To download this free book today, just visit audibletrial.com/lovewisdom. audibletrial.com/lovewisdom.
All right, welcome back. You are listening to For the Love of Wisdom, where philosophy meets the streets. And today we are talking about the wisdom of opportunity. How do we know it's best to take this opportunity or that opportunity, or that it's even a good thing to be looking out for opportunity at all? I mean, some people are not even looking for that, right? Maybe they just feel that things in life just happen, and if it happens to them, doesn't happen to them, it doesn't matter. And if that's you, if you're more maybe like a hippie type of person, just going with the flow, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But you should understand that regardless of your personality and the way that you view things, things are going to be happening to you, around you, to people. Things are going to be happening to people that you know and love. And it's important to know why these things are happening and to recognize them when they do happen. So just taking a look at opportunity from every aspect, one thing that I always like to do, every week is to focus on a particular book that really stands out and helps to kind of drive the points home. It's like a little bit, taking it to the next level, So if this show is like the equivalent of getting your nutrients from a vitamin, then reading a book about it is then like actually having a full course meal on the same subject. So the book of this week is Life's Challenges, Your Opportunities. The subtitle to the book is God has given you a promise. You've come into a problem. How will you respond? How you respond will determine how quickly the provision comes. And that's pretty long. I'll say that one more time. God has given you a promise. You've come into a problem. How you respond will determine how quickly the provision comes. All right. And this is a book by John Hagee, and it's pretty good. I actually listened to the audiobook earlier today, and it was encouraging. It has a lot of great insight, and it's something that I would recommend anyone check out. So the purpose of the book, what is it all about? So this is just from the book, and it says, everyone faces problems in life. Expect them, but don't allow them to separate you from God's divine destiny for your life. So it's saying basically that in this book, Life Challenges, Your Opportunities, One thing that you'll be able to do is to discover powerful principles to turn your obstacles, basically financial loss, illness, rejection, defeat. You can turn these obstacles into God's provisions and blessings. Okay, so this is a pretty cool book. Again, we have a partnership with Audible. So if you ever want to download a free audiobook like the one that we're talking about today, as long as you don't already have an Audible membership, you can download this book for free. And you would just go to audibletrial.com/lovewisdom. So it's a great resource there for you, just so that you can take what you are listening to on today's show to the next level. So one thing that the book teaches you is that there are 3 words that will increase your potential for success. There's 6 signposts that will guide you through the problem. And there are 7 actions that are necessary to reach your provision. Now, this book, I think, is something good to read or listen to when you are really in a place where you can sit down and concentrate on it. It's not something I would recommend just having as background noise when you're doing something else, because it's easy to lose focus on it if you do that. But there's a lot of valuable information here, and I think it's something that will encourage anyone to either become aware of the opportunities that are around them, or to maybe learn the patience to wait, as these opportunities don't always present themselves quickly. And one thing that John Hagee reminds us of is in the book, he speaks about the Israelites, and in the Bible it talks about how the children of Israel, and Israel is a nation, right? It's in the Middle East, but Israel, you have to understand, when people say the nation or children of Israel, what they mean is that Israel was a person, and not everyone knows that. That's where this name comes from. Now, there's a man in the Bible who's named Jacob. And this guy, Jacob, he was given a promise from God, right? That basically his seed would ultimately be blessed by God. And Jacob, really, the promise was not first given to him, but it was given to Abraham, who came before him. And before, Jacob came Isaac. Before Isaac came Abraham. So basically, in the beginning of all of this, early on in the book of Genesis, God gave a promise to Abraham saying that your seed will be blessed. This promise was then passed down to Abraham's son, Isaac, who then passed it down to his son, Jacob. And Jacob is someone who the Bible describes as being a deceitful person. His name actually means heel snatcher, or someone who is swindling or deceiving people. So ironically, this is the person who God chose to help fulfill this promise that he made to Abraham. So Jacob actually went through a place where the Bible says he wrestled with God. And through that, God changed his name to reflect him wrestling with God. And that name literally is Israel. So God changed Jacob's name to Israel. So that's what we're talking about when we say the nation, or the children of Israel. We're talking about the descendants that came first through Abraham, then through Isaac, and then through Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel, and all of his children. And so the millions of Jewish people that we see today actually come from that lineage. It's pretty interesting when you break it down, when you look at it, the promises that God made to them. And you can trace that all throughout the Bible, because it shows that God used them basically to reveal himself to the rest of the world, to the other nations. So that's something that I would love to get more into if we have time on another episode. But that's just to give you some context here. One thing that it says here in the book is that the principles here will help you to revitalize your marriage, expand your business potential, and even improve your mental health. Because it is time to change the way that you look at problems for the rest of your life. And so when it talks about taking advantage of opportunities, sometimes that means not becoming focused on the wrong things. Because if you're focused on the wrong things, if you're focused on negativity, then it can be impossible to really take advantage of opportunities, because you won't even be able to see them because you're so focused on something that's negative. This is really important. So again, if you have issues with your marriage, with your health, physical health, mental health, whatever it is, sometimes just having knowledge, sometimes having the right opportunities can change things around for you. So when it comes to your physical health, sometimes speaking with someone or reading something, there's can be something that can inspire you, that can change the way that you view things, right? When it comes to your physical health, sometimes it's, changing your diet, having the ability or the knowledge of what you should do to change your eating habits or your exercise habits. Sometimes taking advantage of those kind of opportunities can change your whole life. But if you're focused on something else, you'll never know. But more on that after this. You're listening to North Coast Underground, where the underground starts with you.
You're now listening to For the Love of Wisdom on NorthCoastUnderground.com, where the underground starts with who? No other but you.
Right, welcome back. You're listening to For the Love of Wisdom, where philosophy meets the streets. And we are on North Coast Underground, where the underground starts with you. So today, in hour 1 and hour 2 of the show, we have been discussing the wisdom of opportunity. There's a lot of great insight that we can get from several sources as it relates to opportunity and the importance of it. And here's one that I found to be awesome, and I think it really applies to what we're talking about today. This was an article that was written by Bill English, and in hour 1 we looked at a word study he did on the word opportunity and the Bible dictionaries that he used to get that, and that's what we used to help define the word opportunity in hour number 1. And again, if you missed that, you can listen on iTunes, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, Google Play Music, or if you have an Alexa enabled device, you can just say, hey, Alexa, play For the Love of Wisdom, and it'll play that the last podcast that was produced, right? And then it will even play some of the previous episodes after that as well. So you can always listen back if you've missed one. So Bill English put this together, and it's called What Does the Bible Have to Say About Opportunity? And this is from a website called Bible and Business. And this is basically just helping people to know how to relate business opportunities to biblical wisdom. And I think that this is a great resource here. And here's what he has to say. What's interesting is that in the word studies, meaning the word studies relating to opportunity, there was a fairly strong connection between the concepts of opportunity, season or period of time, and appropriateness of action. So he says, when running a business, opportunity is always knocking at your door. The art of leading is knowing which opportunities to pursue and which ones to decline. Taking advantage of opportunities versus staying focused on the short and long-term strategies of the company is a balancing act that requires maturity and discernment in the leadership of the company. Many small business owners struggle in this area because, as entrepreneurs, they can see something in the future that doesn't exist today and immediately decide that they need to go after that new shiny thing, right? So a real entrepreneur has a very difficult time saying no to a new idea. And I really like what he said there, because it is true. As a person who is an entrepreneur, somebody who wants to be innovative, someone who wants to be on the cutting edge of something, ultimately, they want to do something that's going to become successful, which will lead to, financial success and many other types of successes in this life, right? And everyone wants to be at the forefront of whatever that new thing is. When the internet really started to boom, AOL was right there. They were one of the leaders when it comes to internet technology, and everyone who invested in AOL at that time period when it first started, they are wealthy, or at least they should be wealthy now. Same with the people who invested or who worked with Mark Zuckerberg at the beginning of Facebook, or people who got involved with Google at its beginning stages. So everyone wants to be a part of this new thing. However, not every opportunity is the right one to take, and sometimes it can be difficult to know what we should or shouldn't take, right? So how can a person have that wisdom to know whether or not something is a good opportunity? So he gives some examples here, and he uses some scriptures, and we don't have time to read all of them, but at least want to give them to you so that if you do have time to check them out, you can. So he basically says that according to Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1, times of opportunities must be discerned. And we spoke about Ecclesiastes chapter 3 earlier, I believe in hour 1, where we talked about how there's a season for everything, right? There's a time to heal, a time to kill, a time to laugh, a time to be sorrowful. You know, there's a time to eat food. There's a time to fast, right? There's a time for everything. Also, he says here that every possible opportunity to do good should be taken, right? So we should basically take advantage of every opportunity that we have to do good towards other people. And for someone who is of the mindset of it's all about me, myself, and I don't care about the next man, whatever, I'm going to do what benefits me, it can be maybe hard to even understand why this is important. But doing good to other people not only benefits those people, it benefits you as well. Because one day, and this is from a movie I saw last night on Netflix, and I mentioned this in hour number 1. This was a really good movie. It was about a boxer who basically he went to jail or prison for second-degree murder because he got in a fight with someone and he murdered that person. And if you don't know, if you're a boxer or you're in the military, you know, you've received any kind of specialized training when it comes to combat, if you use that on a civilian, then you're liable for a much harsher punishment because you're specialized in being able to take a person out due to, you know, hand-to-hand combat, right? So if you're using that training against a civilian, it can be bad for you. So this guy went to prison for 12 years and he came out and he had some difficulties finding a job, and he actually worked at a pizza place, and there were these kids there who would always cause trouble. They would make fun of him. They would threaten to one of the children. I think his father was the district attorney for the area, so he threatened, hey, if you don't do this for me or that for me, then I'm gonna tell my father that there's a problem here and I'm gonna get this place shut down. So this guy, he said, okay, whatever, kid, you know. One day he had enough of it. So he basically told the kid, more or less, you need to respect this establishment. We're happy to serve you, but we really need you to come in here and give us respect. And that was something that was impactful to that child. And one thing that happened later in the movie, this guy had some challenges. He actually got into a fight again, and they arrested him, and he was looking at more serious prison time. He didn't kill anyone this time. However, he was in violation of his parole. So that same kid who he had spoken to and had given some advice to about being respectful of that establishment, that kid actually, instead of hating him for it, he began to appreciate him for that. I guess because he was somebody that spoke some truth to him, someone that had challenged him in a way that no one else had. So when it came down to it, what this guy did, or this kid, what he did was he spoke to his father, the district attorney, and instead of speaking to him in order to get this guy in trouble, he actually was able to get him released and he was no longer under arrest. And that's the impact that doing good to other people has. So he did good to this child by teaching him something, maybe something that even his father wasn't teaching him. He taught him how to be respectful to his elders. And by doing good towards this kid, it actually wound up helping him in the long run. And so that's why doing good to other people doesn't only benefit them, but God can use that to benefit you too. That's definitely something that's important to keep in mind. And we'll discuss more on that after the break, and we'll look at some more from this article. I mean, there's so much great information there. We don't have time to go to all of it, but definitely check out BibleandBusiness.com, and you can look up this article, What Does the Bible Say About Opportunity? And I think that you'll really get a lot from that. It's a great read. So we're about to go to a quick break, but you're listening to For the Love of Wisdom, where philosophy meets the streets, and we are on North Coast Underground, where the underground starts with you. And as we come back, we have a couple more segments as we conclude the conversation, or continue the conversation, I should say, on the wisdom of opportunity. All right, so more on that after this.
It's your boy, Tear It Up, Tommy Tom from Beyond Sports, and you're listening to For the Love of Wisdom
with your host, Jason Johnson.
All right, welcome back. You are listening to For the Love of Wisdom, where philosophy meets the streets. And today we are discussing the wisdom of opportunity. All right, so before the break, we were looking at an article that was written by Bill English, and it's called What Does the Bible Have to Say About Opportunity? Now, this is really good. There is so much great stuff in here, and we don't have time to look at all of it today, but I did want to just pull out some of the most important pieces of it. And you can always go online, check it out, read the full article. Again, just look up What Does the Bible Have to Say About Opportunity, and that's on BibleandBusiness.com. Two words that people don't often link together, but they are two words that truly do go together quite well. A lot of the best business principles that people use, whether you realize it or not, they actually come from the Bible, because the Bible does have a lot to say about conducting good business. So let's take a look here at what Bill English has to say. He says that there are some common threads in different kinds of opportunities, and he gives examples from the Bible, such as Rahab saving the spies and her household, Nehemiah gaining permission to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem, Daniel offering to interpret Nebuchadnezzar's dream, David, how he could have killed Saul but chose not to, and Priscilla and Aquila and how they taught Apollos. So he gave some different examples here, and he said some of the common threads in these opportunities is there was foresight, there was action, there was discernment, there was risk, dependence, and the necessity of being prepared and being unique. So when it comes to foresight, he was saying the opportunity was noticed. It's easy to see in hindsight, but not so easy to see with foresight. So that's what he was saying, that they were able to take advantage of these opportunities because they could see beyond their present circumstances. They were able to see the opportunity from afar, as opposed to looking back and seeing a missed opportunity. All right, so one thing they were able to do is take action. They acted. They took action. They didn't just quote unquote pray about it, right? Because that's something that we can say when we are trying to have an excuse as to why we're not producing results, why we're not moving towards something. Oh, I need to pray about it. I need to figure it out first. So what these people did is say, I don't have time to pray about it. I need to just act. I need to do what I believe is right. I need to take advantage of this opportunity. And they did it. And that's why they were successful. The third one, discernment. Not all opportunities should be followed. And that's important too, because you could have foresight of an opportunity and you can take advantage towards an opportunity, but it doesn't mean that it's a good opportunity. So you have to be able to have discernment to know whether it's good or not. And that's why it's important to, I think, have a good relationship with God to be able to see that, yes, this opportunity is good, or no, this opportunity is not for me. Risk. Most opportunities involve risk. And the thing that separates people who are successful from people who are not successful is that successful people aren't afraid to take risks. They aren't afraid to put themselves out there, to put everything on the line, so to speak, in order to make certain things come to pass. They say, regardless of what happens, I'm going to try this out. Because what other choice do I really have? Basically, that's how they're looking at it. They say, why not? Dependence. All opportunities involved dependence on the Lord. And that was something that's really important there too. They didn't trust in themselves. They didn't trust in their own intellect or abilities or strength, but they just trusted in the Lord to open the doors for them. And he did. Prepared. All right. So all of these people were prepared before the opportunity ever came along. So even before they probably had foresight of these opportunities, before they even knew that these opportunities existed, they were preparing themselves every day in what they did in their lives. That's crucial. That is so crucial. And then lastly, unique. Each opportunity was a singular event. It would likely never come again. So they knew that it was now or never, basically. Now is the time. They had a sense of urgency because they knew, if I don't do this now, I may not be able to next week, next year, next month, whatever. So that's a great article. Definitely check it out, BibleandBusiness.com. They have a lot of great resources there. And now let's take a look at some quotes from some notable people. All right, here's one from Ralph Waldo Emerson. Never lose an opportunity of seeing anything beautiful, for beauty is God's handwriting. That's awesome. Take a moment just to think about that. Beauty is God's handwriting, right? That's awesome. I really like that. Here's one from Milton Berle. He said, if opportunity doesn't knock, build a door. Whoa, that's pretty cool, right? So if you think about it, you say, well, how come opportunity is not knocking? Well, it might be because there's no door there. You can't knock if there's no door, right? So maybe you need to build a door so that opportunity can knock and you can invite it in. Here's one from Betty Friedan. She said, aging is not lost youth, but a new stage of opportunity and strength. That's good. Again, she said, aging is not lost youth, but a new stage of opportunity and strength. Sometimes people fear getting old without even realizing that it's an actual great stage of life. It's an inevitable stage of life if you live long enough to become old, right? It's not a bad thing. Now, there may be some things about getting old that you don't like, such as maybe having a more difficult time getting out of the bed, or maybe losing friends and loved ones, because the older you get, the more people pass away, different things happen. So there are some downsides to it, but ultimately becoming old, if you have that opportunity, is great, because not only do you have the chance to grow as an individual and go from, being a baby to adolescence to adulthood and, becoming wiser, making better decisions, you also have more and more opportunities to do good, to have others do good to you. You have opportunities really to experience the fullness of life, kind of going from 0 to 60, so to speak, from going from knowing nothing to having a great wealth of knowledge. And there's nothing wrong with getting old. It should be celebrated. And in our culture now, nowadays, unfortunately, it's not something that's celebrated. Youth is oftentimes celebrated as being more valuable than becoming elderly, but that is something we should all hope to attain, because if you live a reckless life, you won't reach old age, right? Because you'll be living in a destructive way, which will cause you to probably lose your life early, and we don't want that, right? We want to make wise choices so that we can live as long as possible. Here's one from Napoleon Hill. He said, your big opportunity may be right where you are now. And that's important to keep in mind too, because we always think, well, if my circumstance was like this or that, if I had this, then I wouldn't be where I'm at today. But you have to realize that where you're at today might be just 2 steps away from where you're going to be at 30 years from now, right? It can be the exact place you need to be in order to walk in your purpose and destiny. So never despise where you are, because you probably are there for a reason. One last one is from Mark Parker. He said, the biggest sources of opportunity are collaboration and partnership. And today, with digital communication, there is more of that everywhere. We need to expose ourselves to that as a matter of doing business. And that's pretty cool too. And he's just talking about how technology gives us opportunities that we didn't previously have. It's pretty good. So one more, I'm actually going to do one more from Winston Churchill, but that's going to be after the break. You're listening on North Coast Underground, where the underground starts with you.
Hey everybody, you're listening to For the Love of Wisdom, where philosophy meets the streets.
With your host, Jason Johnson.
Right, welcome back. We are on North Coast Underground, where the underground starts with you. And this is the last segment of today's show. We are talking about the wisdom of opportunity, knowing when and how to take advantage of good things that come our way, right? So before the break, I promised I would share this quote from Winston Churchill. This quote is awesome. I think that this sums it up pretty well. He said, "The pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity. The optimist sees the opportunity in every difficulty." That's awesome. And that is so true, right? That really does give us a good distinction between the optimist and the pessimist. And we want to be on the optimistic side, because that's the only way to take advantage of opportunities, right? You see those words are similar. Optimism, opportunity. All right, so to conclude today's show, I want to take a look at the book of Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 3 tells us a lot as it comes to opportunities and how and when to take advantage of them. And let's just go ahead and get started at the beginning of Proverbs 3, verses 3 and 4. It says, and this is all from the New Living Translation. I think they did a pretty good job at breaking down these particular portions here. And Proverbs 3, verses 3 and 4 says, "Never let loyalty and kindness leave you. Tie them around your neck as a reminder. Write them deep within your heart. Then you will find favor with both God and people, and you will earn a good reputation." So there's a lot that we can take from this. One thing that it says here is that if you focus on being loyal and being kind, it says that you will find favor with God and people, and you'll earn a good reputation. So opportunity oftentimes comes from finding favor with people, or people finding favor with you. So you, for example, let's just say you are a blogger, right? And there's an opportunity to write blogs for a internationally known website that produces tons of great content, and there may be better writers than you. There may be people who are more qualified for the job, but because the owner of this particular website, because they know you and they know what kind of heart you have, they know that you're a loyal and you're a kind person, opportunities may open for you that may not open for the person who's more qualified than you, the person who's a better writer than you, the person who maybe has more credibility and more longevity in the industry than you. Maybe it's just that you just so happened to find favor with these people based on the way that you carry yourself. And that's something that's important to remember. It's not always about your resume. It's not always about your credentials. Sometimes it's about your character. Sometimes it's about, being able to, find favor with people and with God. Here's one from Proverbs 3, verses 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. Seek his will in all you do, and he will show you which path to take. And this is really important as it relates to opportunity, because how can you take advantage of an opportunity if you don't even know whether you should or shouldn't take advantage of that opportunity? What if it's a bad opportunity? What if it leads to something dangerous? Or then again, what if it's the best possible opportunity you could ever have, and it leads to complete fullness of life and greatness, right? You'll never know unless you walk through that door. And trusting in God for discernment and for guidance is what's going to tell you whether or not an opportunity is from him or from somewhere else, right? Proverbs chapter 3, verses 9 and 10 says, honor the Lord with your wealth and with the best part of everything you produce. Then he will fill your barns with grain, and your vats will overflow with good wine. So, one thing to keep in mind here is just basically saying that if you say, okay, whatever I have, I recognize that it's not my own, right? It's not just from me. Whatever I have has been given to me by God for a reason, and I want to honor him with it. So I'm not going to blow all my money at the strip club, for example, right? That's not a good use of my resources that God has given me. So what do I do with this? How can I use whatever he's given me to help people or to, provide for my family, whatever. So if you honor God with your wealth, basically he's saying he will honor you, and he will give you even more because he knows you're faithful with it. And then here's one from Proverbs chapter 3, verses 27 and 28. It says, do not withhold good from those who deserve it when it's in your power to help them. And we talked about this earlier in the show. Because if you can help your neighbor now, don't say come back tomorrow and then I'll help you, right? It's saying if it's in your power to do so, just do it. There's nothing wrong with helping someone. And you might say, well, what if this person doesn't deserve it? What if this person is not considered a good person or, whatever. But what this is saying is it doesn't matter. If someone is in need and you have the opportunity to take care of them, then you should. Because that's the kind of opportunity that ultimately matters most at the end of the day. Proverbs chapter 3, verses 29 through 32. And we'll end with this. Don't plot harm against your neighbor, for those who live nearby trust you. Don't pick a fight without reason. When no one has done you harm, don't envy violent people or copy their ways. All right, so this is important. Again, just like the previous verses, whenever we have the opportunity to do good towards people, we should. But at the same time, if there's an opportunity to do evil towards someone, we shouldn't do that, right? Because we wouldn't want someone to do that to us. All right, so that's all we have time for today. Thank you for hanging out with me today. This is JC Johnson, and you're listening to For the Love of Wisdom, where philosophy meets the streets. And of course, we're always on North Coast Underground, where the underground starts with you. So until next time, I'm signing out. Have a good rest of the day.
Knowledge is power, power is money, and money makes the world go round.
Money, power, respect, I get it. Higher, learning, yeah, I'm with it. Only get better with time, you got on my mind with wisdom. There's no limit, there's no limit. Get up and get it, can achieve the impossible, conquer every obstacle. Exhausted and grinding, constantly pushing, do what they say I could. Life is what you make it,